Are you ready to transform your normal e-commerce business into one that experiences exponential growth year after year using online advertising? If so, this show is for you. Me and my guests will show you how you too can grow your e-commerce business to 7 or even 8 figures so you can go on more luxurious vacations, spoil yourself and your family, say yes to more opportunities, and become financially free so you never have to worry about money again. Welcome to the E-commerce Performance Marketing Show. Hey, how's it going, guys? Josh Marsden here, host of the E-com Performance Marketing Show. And I've got an incredible guest for you, as usual. Every week, I'm always delivering an incredible guest, and I have Carlos Redlich here. Now, Carlos has some phenomenal experience in digital marketing. He's a stellar copywriter, well-paid, highly paid, super expensive. He's worth every dime, though. And he's here on the E-com Performance Marketing Show to talk about some of his strategies, some of his processes, some of his tactics that has helped him generate, numerous results with different assets that he has been a part of. So, Carlos, I'm really excited to interview you. Thank you so much for being a part of the show, and welcome to the E-com Performance Marketing Show.
Oh man, I appreciate you having me here. It's an honor because we're actually local, so we eventually had to connect somehow.
I know, man. I know. Yeah, we definitely got to get together. Play some poker like we talked about, talk business, talk shop. You moved here from Florida too, right?
Yeah, I moved here. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, and moved to Jacksonville, Florida with a good friend of mine named Vit. We started a martial arts school there. That's when I kind of talk about, I discovered the internet, essentially. I'm like, holy moly, you can make, because we were paying $10,000 a month in rent, and that was a lot of money when you didn't have to. You can make money on the internet. So slowly started figuring out the internet, eventually made it out west to Phoenix, Arizona, and I don't think I'll ever go back to Florida, at least not to live.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I mean, Phoenix is it's like a hidden gem. I mean, if you come to Phoenix, you live here, you visit even, you realize just how awesome it is here. The weather is perfect about 8-9 months of the year, I'd say. And then, it's obviously hot in the summer, and that's why people are scared of Phoenix, but it's really not that bad, I don't think.
No, not at all, man. The only thing people got to say is those last few months. If that's all they have to say, then that's fine.
Dude, I know. I mean, we don't have to deal with the humidity. It's dry. There's lots of stuff going on in the summer, especially if you're, in your 20s or your 30s and you're single.
Well, you know what? One of the things that I like, which may be a little I guess weird, but coming from Florida, everything in Florida is so dirty. You look at the ground, it's dirty. There's trash on the floor. There's graffiti everywhere. I mean, this is just my experience from Miami to Jacksonville. It's just, and it was, I just thought that was normal. I didn't think that was even dirty. I just there's trash on the ground. That's normal. Well, when you go and you land in Phoenix, you walk out the airport, just look on the ground. I bet you there won't be a single piece of Snickers wrapper paper on the floor. This is the cleanest city I've ever seen, and I love it. The only thing you got to watch out for are the rocks on the ground. But other than that, it is the cleanest city I've ever seen. So that's something I love.
Nice, man. Well, cool. Well,
this wasn't about the city, though. This podcast isn't about the
city. I know. We can go on and on about Phoenix and Scottsdale and the comparison, but yeah, we love living here. Basically, it's the bottom line. So, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, like your journey to where you're at today.
Yeah, so like I talked a little bit about before, I started out as a martial artist, and my natural progression was like, well, hey, maybe we should start a martial arts school. So a good friend of mine, Vit Singh, he and I started a martial arts school. We went from Miami to Jacksonville, Florida. The biggest reason why was because it was so much cheaper in Jacksonville, but we still made the biggest mistake in the book, or at least one of the biggest mistakes. We went and got ourselves a place that you had to pay $10,000 a month in rent to keep up. And we were like, why did we even leave Miami if we're going to keep paying $10,000? I mean, it makes no sense, but we did it anyway. So that was a very interesting challenge. I really didn't understand. I understood copywriting because I would write copy for my martial art instructor back in Miami, because that's actually where I learned copy. I would write flyers and emails for his school. So I kind of understood it, but nice. I wasn't mailing anything myself. I wasn't putting money into this stuff. So I didn't really know how to get clients. So when we had a martial arts school, the first kind of big like ooh aha moment in regards to copy, it sounds so trivial, but is when I started flyering. I was flyering like crazy. Like flyering just means you get a flyer and you pass it out and basically spam the world with your flyers. Well, the only time I was actually seeing even minimal results, I mean, I was like flyering thousands a day and I would get less than 10 calls. Like it was like not that, it was not an effective tactic, right? But it would be, but you know, what I noticed was we would get basically no responses from this one flyer. And then when I went with the more direct response style flyer, so I was like, well, let's practice this Dan Kennedy stuff that, you know, my martial art instructor taught me back in the day. So we included a really cool headline, some before and after pictures. The headline, I don't even know how compliant it was. It was like how to melt your fat away in X amount of days. It was really crazy, but it got people to call us and try us out for a free week. And so that wasn't like the big game changer in our business by any means, but it was something where I was actually able to track. I was like, man, we had no responses from the last few days. We have these flyers. Now we have a handful of calls. Like, not a huge difference, but it's a big difference when every call counts. And so that's when I was like, man, that's pretty interesting. And I started kind of really getting into copy a lot more as a martial arts school owner. We started tweaking our website. This was before funnels were really popular. I don't even think ClickFunnels was around. At least I wasn't aware of it. This was 7 years ago, 8 years. I don't even remember.
Something like that. It wasn't around, yeah.
So we had like a WordPress site. I put a direct response letter on there with a video. I actually just, before this call, I found oh my God, it's crazy. I found a video of me where I was much thinner, and it was like an intro video to our gym, and it's so bad. It's in my like crappy little apartment that I had, and I'm just like, hey, thank you for coming to our website, blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling people to opt in. Anyways, it's kind of funny to see the progression. Because, you know, it worked. I mean, we had a couple opt-ins a day just off like organic Google stuff. Like there's only a handful of martial arts schools in Jacksonville. We were just ranking almost naturally. But, you know, anyway, so the copy thing was like this slow playing love that I had. I was like, I kind of like this. Like we're seeing results, even though I'm not the best. Like I'm following copywriting principles, even in this video, telling people opt in here, do this, blah, blah, blah. Right. So I started seeing results. And then one thing led to another. After about a year of kind of doing this stuff, we were finally making a little bit over 10 grand, which sounded cool, but we can't forget I was paying, well, not me, but Vit and myself and our other partner, we were paying 10 grand a month in rent. So we really weren't making any money. Right. And, but then I got hired to write like, I forget how many, let's say like $100 or $200. Somebody hired me to write a sales page. I didn't realize how cheap I was charging them. I was like, I think they offered me $125 or it was very cheap, less than $200. And I thought I was like, wow, this is amazing. You're paying me to write some words, easy peasy. Wrote a little sales page. Wasn't anything long. It was probably like a 4 or 5 page sales letter, but the guy liked it. It helped him with his little guitar sales page. And that was kind of it. Wow. That was like my initial thing. I was like, wow, you can get paid to do this. I started finding out that copywriters, you don't have to be Dan Kennedy to make a lot of money. Because I'm like, well, only copywriters are like Dan Kennedy or Gary Halbert or the famous who's who are the ones who ever make money. That's why we hear about them. But that wasn't the case. So I found these little groups on Facebook that I was just becoming a part of. Some of them were job boards, some of them were just generic marketing groups. And what I started doing was super organic stuff. I was literally just putting stuff out there about copy. Here's how you write a headline. Here's how you do this. Here's how you do that. And little by little, I started, and this wasn't a real strategy at the time. It was just like kind of getting my feet wet and getting into this world. And there's one thing I knew from at least having a physical business is the more people I knew, the more people could possibly pay me. So I was constantly meeting people at the Burger King when I would break my diet and go to Burger King across the street. I would say, hey, what's happening, guys? Thank you for the burger. What I also want to do while I'm paying you this $5 is also give you a free week to my gym right across the street so we can both lose weight together. Does that sound like a So I was in constant pitch mode for over a year of my life, and it was about the gym. And so that was my mentality. I'm like, well, I can make more money, a few $100 a day. Like that was my mentality. I'm like, a few $100 a day just writing some copy for people. Like I just have to know more people. Let me get in these groups and let's talk to people, right? So that was my big strategy. It wasn't anything crazy. But I started, my big big aha moment was really, I had a few of them, but my big kind of initial big payday was going from like a couple $100 to I made 10 grand off one deal, and that person signed on for like a year-long contract to pay me 10 grand a month. And I was like, I think I'm just going to write copy. I think that's all I'm going to do. I've never been
ROI for your time.
Yeah, because I was making 10 grand a month, which isn't a lot of money, but you have to remember I'm paying and making 10 grand a month with the gym, but I'm already doing it now. And like all of it, except for taxes, is basically take home because I was writing all the copy. So I was like, wow, this is insane. And I'm doing this within like just a few months of messing around on the internet. Like, maybe I should take this even more seriously. So I said goodbye to the gym. I'm still good friends with my friend.
What year was this when this happened? Like when you said goodbye?
27 years old, 28 years old. So I'm 32 now. So 31, 30, 29, 20, about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, nice. So about 2015, 16.
Probably, yeah, something like that. Yeah,
something like that. Nice, man. And what type of martial art was it?
So I trained. It was Muay Thai that I taught, and then my friend would teach combat submission wrestling, and we had a few other things. I originally trained in Jeet Kune Do and Kali for like 13 years before that, and then as essentially like at the same time, I was also training in Muay Thai at the same school, but I just kind of fell in love with Muay Thai. So I was like, and it was easier for me to teach Muay Thai to the public, because there was like you basically punch, you elbow, you kick, you knee, you do some things like that. But with Jeet Kune Do, there was a lot of philosophical things that were involved with it, and I just didn't want to teach that. It just wasn't. I would not be that good of a teacher for that. So I was like, let's just show people how to punch and kick and shit, and then my friend can teach all the other stuff, and it was a good match. But I love Jeet Kune Do. But it wasn't what I taught, Yeah,
it's pretty deep martial art. I mean, I don't know much about it, but I've seen some of the Bruce Lee movies, and I've read some stuff about Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do, and so that's cool, man. I actually did boxing and Muay Thai for 4 years.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, for at Ryan Bader's old gym out there.
Wow, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, I miss it. It was fun. I have a heavy punching bag in one of my rooms in my condo. So I still go after it a little bit here and there, but I don't do much of that these days. Anyway,
that's
back to you.
Say. Yeah, I have one of these little Bob dummies here. If you're familiar with them, it's like the outlet, not a real boxing bag, but it looks like a person. So I get to I like poke his eyes and stuff. Give him a good slap.
Nice. That should seriously be in some sort of like catch your attention video on Facebook in an ad or something. Like that's like the beginning of the video just to capture attention, then you go into the hook, whatever the real hook is,
Yeah.
And somehow they're related. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
It's funny. I did an outrageous ad in a job board once, because I don't think I could ever do this as a paid ad, but I did it in a job board and it got me some business. And it was when I like guns and I own guns. And so this was when I was living in Florida. We had a different type of backyard than what we have here. And so I just whipped out my AR and an AK, and I had them like in both of my hands and shit. And I'm holding up in the air. And I said some kind of silly little thing, like if you want results, bulletproof results or some silly nonsense. And then I like shot him at the same time like an idiot. And it was like so dumb. The gun people who love guns were like, you're an idiot for doing that. But it got tons of attention. It got a bunch of business in this little job board. And the person in the job board who apparently he actually didn't like guns. So I don't know if that, it was just kind of controversially funny and profitable. So you talk about slapping the dog or doing an ad with the Bob. Now I probably should maybe put a gun to his head. That would be crazy. What do you do when you have a gun to your head?
Yeah, you might want to check advertising policies on that.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be organic, man. You got to do Instagram shout outs. That's actually.
Oh, yeah.
Have you, do you do any kind of paid advertising or not paid? I'm sorry. Other paid advertising other than Facebook or YouTube or Google stuff?
No, it's mostly just the main digital marketing, advertising channels, the ones you said, plus like Bing, Yahoo, we haven't expanded really outside of like the ones you mentioned and the ones I just mentioned.
Well, the reason I say is you mentioned compliance. I mentioned compliance a little bit. I actually run some offers. I'm going to start it again, hopefully within the next couple of weeks with the new funnel we're putting out. But they have bad words and very not aggressive stuff. Like I'll talk about murdering shit. Like you can't talk about some stuff like that and get away with it, but you can do it with Instagram shout outs because you're targeting Well, it depends who you're targeting, but I target people who are fans of strippers and porn stars, and usually those are men. And so I say stuff like that, and they do a swipe up ad. They go to the page, and it's like a picture of some very crazy stuff and some very aggressive copy. But you can do that because you're not going to get shut down by anybody because it's just Instagram shout out. So, and a lot of these porn stars and strippers who have multiple millions of followers, you can pay them a couple $100 and you tell them to do a story shout out. And if that's your demographic, like it is for mine for a lot of our stuff, that can work really well. You can be aggressive. You can literally talk to exactly what that person is thinking. I mean, I've had copy that was in the make money niche, which is like, tell your friends and family and blah, 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 everyone who didn't believe in you to fuck off and X, Y, Z and all this stuff right in the headline. And I was targeting people who were following this college page, and that college page had a bunch of like 20-year-old, 18-year-old kids who wanted to gain freedom. And the reason I got this headline is because I called a lot of my abandoned carts, and I was like, hey, why are you even interested in this? They're like, dude, my parents just keep telling me I have to go get a job or I have to do this, and I just want to tell them to F off, man, leave me alone. Dude, and I was like, that's my headline.
That's a huge takeaway, what you just mentioned, calling your customers, getting their feedback, seeing why they're interested in buying your product, and then using that qualitative data in the headline, I mean,
absolutely.
It, that's massive.
Absolutely. So I know we went off on a little bit of a tangent, but I'm a fan of all these, these weird traffic sources and things like that, because anything that you can, as long as it's legal, but if you can really speak to exactly what they're thinking, even if it crosses some lines of, what you can say on Facebook or something, if you can find a traffic source that lets you do that stuff, man, it can be really profitable because it's literally hitting them right into what they're thinking. You don't have to be
bold.
It's very bold and it's right in their face. And, I know we'll probably get into some of the tactics and a few takeaways, but definitely the phone sales thing is a very big part of our business. I mean, usually we don't even care to break even. I mean, if I break even on the front end, that's great, but we sell 5,000 and 25K programs, which are our main two programs. And so most of the folks who come through our funnel will get a text message or a phone call trying to set somebody up for an appointment. And that's where a lot of our money is made. So
yeah, nice, man. Nice. Yeah. So, throughout your experience over the past several years, like what industries, what products, what verticals have you spent time in? Just so the audience kind of knows like where all your experience comes from.
Yeah. Good question. So, martial arts, I guess, is and like that martial art area is where I originally started with. I started jumping into the make money online type of space because you could use aggressive type of copy as long as it wasn't FTC uncompliant, as long as it was compliant with the feds. But you can really hit the really good emotions with that. So I've started doing stuff in the make money space and then the financial newsletter space as well, because you can get aggressive with it. And a lot of the things that I'm starting to play with now, and I don't have any huge results to back this up yet, it's just suspicions I'm starting to test now, is the more transparent and honest you are, basically, it's not like any crazy whiz-bang epiphany, I guess, but the more honest and straightforward you are, the more you're going to be able to sell. But the thing is, you can't be so straightforward that you're like, here's a product, here's a price, buy my stuff. But I've seen success on the phone telling people you're not going to see results in 30 days. It's going to probably take you 365 days. And because of that, here's what we do to make sure you can get those results. So as long as you've got a solution for it, it's still being transparent enough. Now, I haven't found a way to really weave that in to make it work crazy with cold traffic. We've made it work with cold traffic only to the point of getting people to either buy a low ticket product or opt in, but not to make anything profitable on the front end. It just basically gives us qualified leads for the phone.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. I mean, sales leads over the phone, that's where you're going to have the highest conversion rate. You can get people on the phone. And if you're a good closer, good sales, professional. So which sounds like you are. It sounds like you've had a lot of success. So what are you doing like currently in your business?
Yeah, so one of the things we actually I replaced myself and Tiffany replaced herself from actually closing most of the deals, unless it's like specific copywriting stuff. I don't need a closer for that. They're basically hired me because they reached out to me. I can just it's like taking an order mostly. But our actual, I don't really consider that as part of my business. Those are like layups. That's like, thankfully, somebody likes me enough to just pay me. That's kind of like that. but that's not a business. The business for me is when I can put money into some kind of advertising, whether it's cheap solo ad traffic, which we've been able to make work. It just takes like 20 phone calls to make one of them actually close on a big ticket deal.
Mm-hmm.
But
yep.
But one of the things that I'm kind of happy about and pretty proud about is one of our newer closers was able to make $50K in sales in his first 5 days, less than a week. He was able to make his first $50K. He got about 10 grand in commissions for that. And
wow,
that to me
nice.
was a really cool deal because it wasn't me closing, right? I mean, you can close forever for your own deals, but I mean, you really got to systematize that or systemize. How do we systematize or
no, systematize it. You got it.
Systematize. I sounded right. Yeah. So systematize that stuff. But that was my first little mini success. And now it's not like he's closed millions or any of that stuff, but he's completely new. He had the heart to learn. He had the skill beforehand because he had closed other like Comcast and things like that. Like he was completely new to the internet marketing industry, completely new to this type of selling approach. And completely new to it, but he was still able to win. He ended up quitting his job. This is what he does now. And it's cool. It's like, to me, that was the biggest win. It actually has nothing to do with us, but it's more about now that we're able to do that with him. The goal is, how do we get 10 of these guys or ladies usually tend to be better on the phone, but how do we get 10 of these people to crush it with us following the same system? So that's kind of my new type of thing now that we're focusing on.
Yeah. No, that's great, man. That's great. If we have some time, I'd love to, get your feedback on what does it take to have a very successful sales conversation. Honestly, we could probably rap about that this entire episode because I've been doing sales since basically I was 18, was formerly a manager at a Fortune 500 company here in Phoenix. Obviously, as you know, as a business owner, selling is like the number one skill and the number one use of your time as a CEO, to grow your business. So we could probably rap about that all day. What has been your biggest e-com success to date? And if you could maybe kind of go into a little bit, and you feel free to give a good humble brag here, that's totally cool. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. My again, I would have to give it to my buddy Jordan. I don't want to mention his last name. He's actually in a bunch of my testimonial videos, but whatever.
Oh, cool.
Jordan, he started out, he was a lawyer, very smart guy. He's actually been my friend. I'll actually give the snapshot. He's making like 200 grand a month now after a year. But that he didn't start off that way. What he started off with doing was he was a lawyer, wasn't sure if he had been stumbling, trying to figure this shit out. We connected. I'm by no means responsible for all of his success, but I kind of helped him put together a little like roadmap and shit. He created his own niche, or he didn't create his niche, but he found a niche. He found his own little products and shoes and shit that he was going to start selling. And then what we did was we helped put together a nice follow-up system that worked with direct mail, because he's sending people stuff in the mail. So how can we use that already to upsell them, right? So we have direct mail letters that are thank you letters that actually upsell them to higher ticket packages. And so he's been able to grow that from really nothing, like taking on a bunch of debt. Like he probably took close to 100 grand in debt just trying to make this thing work. But he had the mentality of like, I'm going to make this work. He did not want to be a lawyer for the rest of his life. So he was like, I'm not going to.
A lot of people who say that when they're a lawyer, they're like, I don't want to do that. And Roland Frazier, he's obviously big in the marketing community, but there's also been other lawyers that I've heard or met that have said the same thing. Anyway, go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah, no, that of course, but I mean it's not really a direct success of ours, but that's more of a success for us because it's based on the exact same principles that we teach. A lot of the things that I do for myself now, or that we do for clients, is based off tripwire funnels that basically just jump people up into a higher ticket product. So sell something for $5, upsell them to 17 to 49 a month or 69 a month. Always include a continuity, and then throw in something for 197, 297, and then what he's now going to start incorporating is a phone sales team, because I've told him, like, dude, you're not selling $10,000 programs. You're not a digital marketer in the sense of like selling info products. You're selling e-commerce, but how can we bundle some stuff up? Maybe you can create a course on something I don't want to give away his niche and shit, but create a little digital course that goes along with the package. Maybe put it on a CD or something you can bundle up. Like, there's a lot of things. How do we bundle this up so we can have somebody close them on the phone for like $1,000 or something. I mean, that's not an unrealistic price point, especially if he's already selling, like his average customer may be buying a couple $100 worth of stuff. To get $1,000 out of him now on the phone, no one is calling anybody. It's the easiest sell ever. I mean, whenever we've called our abandoned carts, it's like just a checkup support call. It's like, hey, just checking in. Saw you almost ordered this XYZ product, but for some reason you didn't put in that other half of your information. Just wanted to see if you had a credit card you wanted to use.
Well, I mean, the audience hearing that should take action on that right away. They should have some sort of like automated, reminder system that goes out to them whenever someone gets to the cart, does not check out, and basically says, hey, Carlos, or hey, Josh, Carlos or Josh was about to check out, call them and find out why they didn't. And that's such an easy way to make additional sales.
Yeah. Man, you know what? It's probably a lot. When I just sent it over to my sales manager now, I just download a spreadsheet of all of our abandoned carts and send it to him. But there's got to be a much smarter, sophisticated way of doing it, like you said.
Well, that also shows, though, too, how simple it is to take action on that one simple tactic to get more sales in your e-commerce store. You don't even need to have anything like a CRM. You can literally just have an Excel spreadsheet of all the people that abandon your cart daily being sent to yourself as the owner or a sales rep if you have one, and just be like, hey, call these people. They were this close to purchasing. See if you can convert 60% of them, which you could probably do if you're a really good salesman.
No, 100%. And then what's really important is if we're talking about this, is one thing we figured out is sell them just on that initial low ticket thing. Don't even try to upsell them at that point, right? If they came for a $9 product, try to sell them the $9 product. I have a video of this now where I didn't actually close them on $9. They're supposed to close. It doesn't really matter. I just go through these all the time. But they go through, you try to close them for $9. If they pay, whether that's on the phone there or right after, you schedule immediately after you call it whatever you want, but like a quick start call or a recap call or whatever it is, like a week later or 2 weeks later max. And then you get on the phone with them and say, hey, did you get your product in the mail yet? Yes, good. Did you like it? What did your family think? Or how do you like it? XYZ from 1 to 10. What would you rate it? Oh, I would rate it a 4. Holy moly, that's terrible. You know what? Why don't I send you a free gift in the mail? Do you mind if I send you another one just to say I'm sorry? It's going to cost us a little bit of money, but I want to earn your business. Holy moly, yeah. Well, listen, on top of that, I want to give you half off on one of these amazing new deals we've got. I'm not allowed to do this. My business manager, my manager is going to just freak out. But we normally have this deal that's $155. But right now, since we goofed up as I'm sorry, let me just cut half off and give it to you for whatever half off that is. Would you be open to that? I can ship it all together in one package, the free gift plus this one for half off. Yeah, boom.
That's a strategy. That's an awesome strategy.
You recap so many sales from doing that and then just push people. These little calls are just so much value because you can upsell them. And then if you have a monthly deal, which is the best thing to have, right? A monthly deal could just be a support group to get faster support. You can have a direct line that gets answered 24/7 or something. I mean, you can get creative. It doesn't necessarily always have to be more physical stuff to send out. Obviously you can, but you can also want to think of like convenience. People will pay for speed, right? Whether that's extra fast shipping, but if you can't guarantee extra fast shipping, maybe you get an X package in the mail every month, and on top of that, you get extra fast shipping somehow, and on top of that, you also get 24/7 support on this like red line. You just create an ad where it's like you picking up this phone, this is like the red phone, the hot phone. You get secret access, 24/7 text support. Nice. So,
yep. Well, and also that shows too that if you're running an e-commerce business, if you don't have some of those subscription offers or digital offers or support offers, or, those are all a bunch of ideas that they can implement, that they can identify and like create for their business. So this way they have more offers in their product line that they can sell, whether it's over the phone, like we're talking about, or whether it's through funnels.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I highly recommend everybody get a high ticket offer in place, whatever that means to them. Maybe that's $1,000, maybe that's $10,000, and then get a phone sales team in place to do it. And if you can get somebody that you pay 10, 20% of the commission to, have them do the sale, because it'll be easier for you for your own time. But it's also, if you're in a business where you may be a guru of some kind, it's only going to position yourself as a higher up type of person if they can't get to you directly, but you still take their money. They just have to talk to a person below you, which is your coach. You can sell higher ticket stuff that way. So it's just different positioning things, but it's always better to, in my opinion, get yourself a closer, man. Get somebody, they'll work on commission as long as you give them good leads.
Totally. And you gotta obviously give them leads, but yeah, I mean, if they're coming in, they already got great, sales experience, and then you've got leads. I mean, that's like a potent combo right there. They could really make a big impact on the business.
100%.
Yeah, totally, man. Well, cool. So what are you doing like right now? Like, what are you selling exactly in your business? And, what's that value proposition? What does that look like? And, this way the audience learns a little bit more about like what you're doing today and what you're selling today.
Yeah, sweet, man. I appreciate the opportunity to pitch everybody. So we've got two main things, really. One thing is where we teach copywriters and freelancers how to become six-figure copywriters and freelancers. So we show them how to do the actual skill of writing copy, but then we show them where to get clients using organic and paid methods. And then we also show them how to actually close those deals on the phone so they can get the money. So that's one part of our business. The other part of the business is where we're actually the copywriters, right? So we actually will go out and hunt our deals ourselves using the same or similar strategies we teach our copywriters. So we'll sell a program, primarily one main deal, which is a $25,000 business in a box program. We call it a business in a box because we build the funnel, we write the copy, we actually create the products for folks, and then we give them 6 months of weekly ongoing consulting, coaching, revisions, so that we actually make sure when they launch the funnel, it works. And since we know what the internet is like, it may not work right out the gate. And that's totally fine, because that's why the 6 months of consulting and coaching comes into play. So we actually stick with our clients, we're in their corner, and then we make sure it works by the end of the 6 months. So those are our two things. If you're looking to there's no real capture-all website, but if you are interested in either one of those, check out yourcasestudy.com. Again, it's yourcasestudy.com. That'll take you to get a case study of how we do our business in a box program. And once you check out all that stuff, if you're interested in that, schedule a call with our coach, and he'll be able to, or she'll be able to talk to you about whether you want to do business in a box or if you want to do the copywriting mentorship. But again, it's yourcasestudy.com.
That's a perfect URL. Goodbye there.
Thank you.
Smart. Very, very smart. So what are like maybe 3 strategies or tactics, or even some stuff that you can maybe share from a case study without obviously giving away a client, unless you're approved to do so?
No, yeah, of course.
What are some takeaways, and some value bombs basically you could drop on the audience here that they can use in their e-commerce business to be able to get more results and, grow their business further as well?
So it'll actually kind of be a recap of some of the things we talked about, because I don't have a bunch of tools. I just have a few that work really well, and I just keep doing it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Essentially, it would be, we call it a lot of times a tripwire funnel. It doesn't necessarily have, when people hear tripwire funnel, though, they think of like a free book offer or something like that, and that's not the case. A tripwire funnel is essentially something that's going to be sold for under $10 that has the value of over $100, right? So we want to have an overwhelming amount of value and a very low price point. After we do that, the funnel is supposed to up them into something that sells for at least $197, but there's a point in the middle. Your first, second upsell, depending on how you want to do it, has to be a monthly membership of some kind. You have to figure out what that is. Maybe that's sending stuff in the mail. Maybe it's digital stuff. Maybe it's a Facebook group, whatever. But you've got to get something in place. Now, I would say that you want that monthly membership to be $49 a month. It could be $97, it could be $69, but $49 is just cheap enough to where you can stack the value in almost any niche. If you're selling a bunch of stuff in the shoe industry and you're selling physical e-commerce things, $49 a month is just not that much money to get a couple shoes in the mail, right?
Totally.
If you're selling digital stuff, $49 a month is very cheap. So you start off with something under $10, and I'll give you a simple framework or price point that you can work with. So $5.60 would be the front end. That could be an ebook. It could be something digital, preferably, so there's no real fulfillment. $17 order bump, $47 a month program, $197 a month final big upsell that should have the value of like $2,000, right?
Yeah, like a bundle or something.
Yep, big bundle. That's your funnel. Hopefully you make some money on the front end, but it's okay if you don't actually make all your money, because that leads us into takeaway number 2, where you have to have a sales team that closes people on the phone for high ticket offers. And now those people have 2 jobs. Job number 1, call all of your abandoned carts, all the people who said they were going to buy but didn't buy, and make them buy that product, and then schedule a call for a week or two down the line. The second job is to call, or if you have it automated somehow, maybe on a thank you page, have them close your current buyers on the high ticket deal. So they're always closing. It's just once is a low ticket close, preparing them for a higher ticket sale eventually, and one is you already bought something, let's go after the high ticket sale, right? So those would be the two big takeaways. And then if I had to throw a third one in, I'll just give you a quick formula I use for my Facebook ads. There's two formulas, basically the same thing. One is just shorter than the other. And if you've heard any of my podcasts, it's the one I basically say all the time because it's what I use. So I'll start it with the long form Facebook ad. And usually this works well when you're selling something high ticket, not necessarily physical. If you're selling a physical e-commerce thing, which I'm sure a lot of these listeners right now are, then you're not going to need all of these 5 steps. You can test it. Maybe it'll make your costs go down, but you probably won't need all 5 steps, but I'll show you all 5 anyway. So first step is a yes question or a yes phrase. You have to be careful with the yes question because Facebook doesn't want you to say, hey, do you want to lose weight? You can't say that, but you can say something like that's a yes phrase, like a lot of people understand that losing weight requires X, Y, Z, something that's common knowledge, right? Yes statement, right? So that's step 1. Step 2 would be a story to relate. So, I remember when I was just like you, or I remember when I first got started in martial arts, I was banging my head against the wall because I couldn't do this, that, whatever the problem is, right? That's step 2. Step 3 is the big aha moment, and it's kind of like the discovery of your solution. So I was banging my head against the wall, but then something amazing happened. I stumbled across a guru who showed me how to right kick, unbelievably, or whatever the discovery of your product is, right? Boom. Step 4 is you suggest the possible solution. So this takes away the hardcore salesy approach while still kind of selling them. So you say, now listen, this strategy worked for me. Heck, it's worked for hundreds and thousands of other people, but I don't know if it's going to work for you. Now we transition to step 5, which is the call to action. But there's only one way to find out if it does work for you. Go to yourcasestudy.com right now and claim your case study for free. See if it's a fit. Right? Again, that's yourcasestudy.com. Can't say that enough. Now, so that's the 5-step formula for a long form Facebook ad. Usually, again, that's like preparing somebody for maybe a webinar or for a high-ticket sale, stuff like that.
Yeah. Sure. No, it's good. I mean, for high-ticket e-commerce, businesses selling high-ticket products, that's phenomenal. I saw a lot of parallels with at least one of our templates, in what you just said. Like, I always, whenever I write ads too, every now and then I write ads, we have copywriters, but I like to do that work as well. I always start with like some sort of statement that gets that yes response because it captures people's attention. And, and then of course, everything else you mentioned was awesome. It's super valuable.
And the second formula is actually the exact same thing, except it's basically just step 1 and step 5. And sometimes you can throw in some scarcity. So it would be, love this coffee mug. This is like for physical stuff usually. Love this coffee mug, and there's a picture of a coffee mug or whatever this is. Yes. Click here to claim yours for half off. That's a call to action. And then that's basically all you need. And if you want to throw some scarcity in, you say, in parentheses, only 500 available or only going on for the next 2 days or something, right?
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Awesome.
So those would be my 3 takeaways. Tripwire funnel, so you build them up with the value and make sure you include a monthly in there. Second,
and just to highlight that real quick, because I really want the audience to
of course,
take your wisdom, because that's huge, because I've talked a lot on the show about maximizing average order value and also maximizing customer lifetime value. And the thing is that you're mentioning your strategy 1, strategy 2 is maximizing both of those important metrics in your business. Average order value is the front end, obviously, in customer acquisition. And then of course, like you're about to say with your second strategy, calling people on the phone, monetizing people over the phone, especially your customers, it's huge because that's where the customer lifetime value gets maximized. And that makes it easier to be able to afford customers with ads, to be able to scale your ad spend because, you've got a rich life cycle where you can really maximize like your ROI from the customers you're generating. And so I just want to highlight that because what you're saying is just so on point that the audience watching this episode really needs to take heed in that because those two metrics are so important, and those strategies that you're mentioning are so valuable to impact those specific metrics. So anyway, I apologize for interrupting.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have to make sure that the audience gets that, because the point of the show is to really make an impact. And what you're saying is like so true.
Well, I appreciate it, man. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure you guys had something tangible you could take away. So those are some 3 very simple strategies you can, implement very quickly, and hopefully you guys get some good results.
That was awesome, man. Well, cool. Well, how can, I usually do a bonus round, but I want to be respectful of your time. Do you have like maybe 2 minutes?
Sure, of course.
Okay. Simple bonus round. So basically the challenge here is that you have to answer each question with 1 word only.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So what caused your biggest e-com success to date?
What caused my biggest e-com success to date? I'm trying to think of 1 word. I only have 1 word coming to mind, but it's sales, but that's not what I mean.
That was the word that I thought you would say.
I wanted to put 2 words, which is phone sales.
Well,
that's where my money's been made.
Nice. Okay. What advice do you have for other e-com business owners?
Does this have to be 1 word?
Yep.
Monthlies. I'm trying to say recurring income, but monthly.
Say recurring.
Recurring. We don't want recurring refunds, though. That could be, we want recurring monthly revenue and include it as a 1-click upsell in your funnel. And all that should just be 1 word into monthlies.
Okay. Subscriptions.
That would have been better. Sorry.
That would have been better. It's okay. I'm helping you out. I'm in your corner. All right. And then, and then how would you describe yourself?
Aggressive.
Nice. I like it. And then what do you see in your future?
10 million in my bank account before 40.
Okay. Excellent. Love it. Cool. Well, how can, besides going to yourcasestudy.com, probably the best domain I've ever heard from any marketer out there, besides going there, how can someone reach out to you, find out more about what you're offering, and possibly even become a customer?
If you don't want to go through, yourcasestudy.com is definitely probably the main one I would check out. Other than that, add me on social media, Carlos Redlich, Redlich. Just add my personal profile, send me a private message, and we can definitely connect.
Awesome. I love the personal approach there. Very, that's good, especially, in today's online world, because people, they want authenticity. And, the fact that you're saying, hey, connect with me personally is very authentic. So that's awesome.
100%. I may eventually push you to one of my coaches to talk to you, but we'll figure out what you actually need first.
Yeah. Nice, man. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. This was an awesome, fun episode, value packed, lots of takeaways for the audience. So I really appreciate it, dude. Thank you.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate being here.
Thank you for tuning into the e-commerce performance marketing show. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment with a timestamp of your favorite part and share it with a friend. Until our next episode, here's to you and the success of your e-commerce business.